Hey everyone, this is Dr. Allison. Hope you're doing well. Today we're going to discuss the topics of global entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship. An exciting topic because these days entrepreneurship is on the rise. The last several years in the United States and around the world, many individuals are finding more excitement and potential opportunity when they start their own business or they invent product. Entrepreneurship is on the rise, and that's a great thing. Entrepreneurship is definitely a culture change for a lot of companies where within the company they take an entrepreneurship frame of mind when it's developing their products or services. So thinking outside the box, developing new innovative ideas is definitely on the rise in global business today. To be competitive, you have to start thinking about what's next, the next best thing, and having that entrepreneurial spirit is definitely a key ask that many companies ask of their employees going forward, especially in this competitive environment with technology. It's very important for companies to have a fresh set of ideas and strategies moving forward in their business to stay competitive. Because consumers, as you know, as a consumer, we're constantly changing our demands and looking for the next best thing. And so, for companies, especially in a global aspect, to be competitive, they have to look at things with fresh, new, innovative ideas. And that's what being an entrepreneur is all about. So let's talk about global entrepreneurship first. The definition of global entrepreneurship is that it's a trait or characteristic in our definition of a global leader. Global entrepreneurs are professionals who use their global understanding and connections to identify transnational and cross-cultural opportunities and to turn them into new value-creating initiative. While entrepreneurship usually means the creation of a new business, the scope of many global leaders' efforts go beyond business creation. Value creation obviously happens in established companies every day, and many global leaders act as entrepreneurs pursuing opportunities from within an organizational context. Furthermore, the term global entrepreneur recognizes that not only businesses create new value, many global entrepreneurs operate from within the nonprofit world, establishing international social enterprises. What this really means is that you don't always have to develop a whole new business, a whole new invention to be a global entrepreneur. At times, you're trying to connect the dots between multiple foreign markets or businesses to create a common value amongst the same foreign markets. For example, a cell phone company such as Apple could find a way to use their current technology and implement a whole new way of doing cell phone technology in foreign markets to fit the needs of those foreign cultures. It's all about finding a common value rather than just new business opportunity to make revenue. Now, it's important to make revenue on any venture that you go into in global business, but it doesn't mean you have to develop a whole new idea or business model to just create profit or a revenue. At times, you're wanting to create value creation or create a new means of supporting the societies into which you live in. So value driven is a key aspect to global entrepreneurship, and I want you to remember that it's not always profit driven or revenue driven on new business ideas or inventions, that it truly is all about creating a value proposition for multiple countries in a global context. So there are three values of global entrepreneurs. There are three pillars into what global entrepreneurs bring to global business. The first is by tapping into commonalities or convergence between markets and cultures. So again, like we just talked about in the last slide, it's finding those common principles, those common values that can bridge multiple markets and cultures together. This approach is common for organizations trying to bring a standard brand promise to diverse cultures, such as global brands, Nike or McDonald's. Alternatively, it is companies like Intel that are bringing broadly applicable convergent technological solutions to diverse communities. So one is the brand play, right? Nike, McDonald's, Adidas. Let's talk about Apple, as we just talked about a second ago. These global brands are trying to bring that global brand presence across multiple countries to find those common values and those cultures that all people can resonate with. A lot of cultures resonate with the value of fitness and health. Well, Nike can provide that fitness and health brand message across multiple countries. For McDonald's, it's all about value price meals, and a lot of countries value the fast food value price meals. So that's how global brands succeed, is they find a very common humanistic type value that no matter where you're from, you can adapt to and play onto those emotions. Now, it's not just about brands, though, and recognizing a brand and having brand loyalty from a global perspective. It's also that technological solution that we just talked about. Intel, in this example, can provide a technological solution to many global businesses inside their corporation. You know, there could be a systematic approach to doing business globally as an entrepreneur. You could find a system solution that's going to, inhibit a foreign market and multiple foreign companies to operate more efficiently inside their organization, depending on the system approach you're taking. The next second value that global entrepreneurs bring to a global business environment is global entrepreneurs may tap differences or divergence among regions in order to access distinct comparative advantages. For example, some IKEA products are designed in Sweden and assembled in China using African cotton and polished plywood. What this means is that global entrepreneurs can take connection points from multiple different countries and bring them together to one unified product or service. They can take components or pieces of a business venture from one country, parts of another, and then parts of another country, and bring them together. This kind of brings that holistic global enterprise into play to produce a product or service, which is a key way to, bridge companies together in multiple countries to provide one common product or service to the global community. The third value that global entrepreneurs bring is also access to networks and create value by building platforms that allow global exchange. For example, Hong Kong-based Global Sources use a standard trading platform to facilitate exchange between suppliers in Asia and clients around the world. That's a technology piece again, or it's also a distribution model. Think about how global entrepreneurs are able to bring a product to market for another country. They can take a business idea or venture in the United States, for example, and then use their networks and relationships to find ways to distribute the product in other countries in Asia or Europe or Africa. They're able to really be that almost kind of like a broker, where they can take your product and go sell it in other countries or find distribution networks to supply it to foreign markets. Global entrepreneurs can really take already existing profitable ideas in one country and really bring them to fruition in another. So again, these are three main values of global entrepreneurs and what they bring to a global community. They really are the glue to bridge companies across the world together to find common either value propositions, technology advancements, brand identification, or truly just distribution networks across the globe. So now in the next set of slides, I'd like to provide to you a more recent look at how global entrepreneurship is taking place in the world today, based on a very credible 2017-2018 Global Entrepreneurship Management Report. They've been reporting for over 19 years on the status and research of the global entrepreneurship community, and some great statistics on where's global entrepreneurship going today. So in this actual study, they cover 54 world economies and individuals between the ages of 18 and 64. So they actually go out, do research among many of the most advanced economies and developing economies in the world, and really try to evaluate where are the motives, where is global entrepreneurship on the rise, and what's being done about global entrepreneurship as far as innovation goes. So one interesting statistic on the top right there is that societal values about entrepreneurship. 70% of the adult population across the 52 economies surveyed believes that entrepreneurs are well regarded and enjoy high status within their societies. About 61% of adults in all three economic development groups believe that entrepreneurs garner substantial media attention, up from 60% in 2016. So what this basically is telling us that all these world economies are very reputable regions of the world surveyed, think that entrepreneurship is on the rise and that entrepreneurs are happier than they once were. And entrepreneurship is a challenging field to be in. You really have to have a a fundamental business venture or idea that really is going to uh, take off. Not every entrepreneur is successful, but entrepreneurship is on the rise from a global perspective, and these statistics are telling us that more and more people are finding value in becoming entrepreneurs. Perceptions on starting a business as a good career choice. 64% are factors driven on economies, 65.7% are efficiency driven economies, and 57% are innovation. So, what this is telling us is that roughly 60 to 65% of individuals who believe that starting a business is a good career choice is based on driving their economy, driving their own, not just their own business, but trying to impact their society. Right? Entrepreneurs are ones that want to take their idea to the market and actually, create jobs, create new value propositions for their societies, and they're also innovative. They're driven by innovation and new ideas. This next slide talks about the percentage of adults who have positive perceptions about starting a business. Perceptions around starting a business across 3 economic development groups. So between the ages of 18 and 64, which pretty much covers the spectrum of all adults up until retirement age, that they're factor-driven, efficiency-driven, or innovation-driven. Well, as you can see, the opportunities they perceive out there are between roughly 41 and 44% perceived opportunities, which means that roughly 40 to 43% of the respondents of these surveys found that there are opportunities out there. There are more opportunities out there than just a few years ago. A few years ago, the survey would have more looked like in the mid 30s to high 30s%. So the opportunities are starting to climb. They're seeing that there's opportunity to develop new ideas, and develop innovation in their markets. And then once they find that there's an opportunity, that their belief in the capabilities are there. They have higher capabilities between, really, 43 to 53%, especially on the factor and efficiency driven motives, that they are capable. They're able to develop opportunities, and they're capable of seeing them through. They're finding ways to develop their ideas through investors or through some type of innovative techniques, or finding opportunities in general. The fear of failure has started to drop. So right now, anywhere from between 33% and 40%, while there is opportunity, there is a perception of failure. So of the 40% of individuals that believe there's opportunity, 40% of them, there's a fear of failure, which is common. Every entrepreneur is going to have a fear of failure. I would say any business professional in general, no matter if you're an entrepreneur or working for a well-established company, there's always a fear of failure. But the entrepreneurs are not looking that they're going to fail or have a fear of failure as much as they once were. There's more reputable companies out there, credible, that are entrepreneur spirit, or there's plenty of entrepreneurs making a living now, and they look at that as an opportunity to become one of them. And so those individuals who are starting out as entrepreneurs trust that they have a better opportunity now than they did several years ago. So there are different motivations for different people to become entrepreneurs. In this slide, we're looking at the regions of the world and their motivation levels when it comes to being opportunity-based versus necessity-based or factor-driven. Now, necessity-based is you're developing a product or service because of a needs of society or something that needs to take place, where there's more of an opportunistic entrepreneurial spirit where it's a product that isn't necessarily needed by society, but it's something that would be a good enhancement to the lifestyle of the community. 74% of the respondents in this year's report stated that they had chosen to pursue an opportunity as a basis for their entrepreneurial motivations. The lowest average opportunity motivation is found in factor-driven economies, 67.6%. The regional opportunity motivation levels of opportunity-driven, not necessarily necessity. Now, again, necessity is a definite needs of society, where opportunity is more of an enhancement or an enrichment to lifestyle. That's what these percentages mean here. 82.6% in North America, 75% in Europe, 74.4% in Asia and Oceania countries, 71% in Latin America and Caribbean, and close to 71% in African countries. Again, what this means is that these percentages are based on opportunity. So there are definitely more individuals who look at opportunity levels of motivation to become entrepreneurs and developing a necessity-driven type product. But let's look at that below at the motivational index. In 2017, there were 2.3 times as many improvement-driven opportunity entrepreneurs as necessity-driven ones in factor-driven economies. What this means, there were 2.3 times more people looking to improve their societies or find those opportunities than driving a needs-based product or service. There are definite factors that can constrain or pose challenges or obstacles in entrepreneurship. And what are the most driven kind of constraints or roadblocks that entrepreneurs face in the global business environment today? So in factor-driven groups, entrepreneurship education at school age can be a constraint. What this mainly means is that unless you're in a college that you're taking an entrepreneurship class or highlighting it in a business course such as this one, in school age environments in kindergarten through 12th grade, there's not many entrepreneurship type classes or classes that teach any relevancy to entrepreneurship. So individuals may hear about entrepreneurship in the grade school and in high school and understand that, at the fundamental what it means, but it doesn't really go into detail about how to become a successful entrepreneur, how to compete as an entrepreneur, and really dive into the aesthetics of entrepreneurship in general. So there's a lack of education taking place in today's environment that can be a constraint for successful entrepreneurs. Research and development transfer. So entrepreneurship is all based on research and development. To come up with an idea, you need to do your market research to understand, is it a valuable proposition or idea to pursue further. However, though, research and development in certain companies who are entrepreneur may not have their research and development expenses allocated in the right areas. So it's really hard to find money to invest into new ideas, and you really have to propose those kind of research ideas to business executives in charge of a budget. And at times, your proposals may not get approved, and that can be a challenge for any entrepreneur or entrepreneurs who are trying to get invested by larger investors. Their money can only go so far and in so many places. Obviously, government policies and taxes and bureaucracy can be definitely impacts to any entrepreneur. Policies can definitely inhibit a new business venture based on laws that are in place that, you'd have to work through or find ways to, not really work around, but, kind of work in a manner that's going to be with the policy, but also find the needs of your business. Taxes can definitely be an impact. If you're starting a new business, it's always hard to come up with a capital investment to cover not just the expenses to produce your product or service or innovative idea, it's also to cover the taxation that's going to be on your business as well. And in general, just bureaucracy. Political leaders could get wind of a business venture and have some type of formal opposition or proposition for that company. Government entrepreneurship programs could also be in the way as well. So there are definitely government agencies that really advocate for entrepreneurship. However, if you're one that's going to be against what those programs are all about, or the support that they can provide, then you're going to find yourself in a barrier to work within a certain government entrepreneurship program. And obviously, just competition, internal markets, burdens, or entry regulations. So barriers to entry for any new business is always an obstacle. What will it take for you to enter into the market or global business market that you're trying to get into? What types of barriers to entry do you have to overcome are always going to be obstacles for any market. So then as you kind of go into the right here and look at efficiency-driven or innovation-driven groups, different types of entrepreneurship groups, the same type of factors come into play, but they may not be as impactful as others. But at a high level, I wanted to discuss what the different types of constraints are. And as you can see in the different types of entrepreneurship groups, where they stand as far as constraints or barriers to becoming an entrepreneur in the global business environment. So now that we've talked about global entrepreneurship, now let's take a turn and talk about global intrapreneurship. And this all stems from inside out. It's all looking at the company and how they have an entrepreneurial spirit, but it's more internal. So that's what we call it intrapreneurship. An entrepreneurial organization is one that seeks to systematically promote the spirit of entrepreneurship in targeted parts of the organization. For example, the stellar innovation track records of firms like Merck & Company, 3M, Motorola, Newell, Rubbermaid, Johnson & Johnson, Corning Incorporated, General Electric, HP, Walmart, and many others demonstrate that bigness isn't in itself antithetical to entrepreneurship, in that just because you're a large organization doesn't mean you can't have an entrepreneurial spirit and have some type of entrepreneurship in your company. At the same time, these are but a few of the thousands of large firms around the world. Understanding the obstacles to do entrepreneurship in large established firms will put you on a firmer ground when it comes time to translate what you know about entrepreneurship in general to the process of corporate entrepreneurship. What this means is that effective business leaders in large corporations who embrace the entrepreneurial spirit not just look for that in their employees, but also find ways to adapt that into their business processes and to align those with strategic company goals and visions. They adopt an entrepreneurial mindset and spirit with their employees, but then find ways to conduct their projects and workflows that develops a corporate entrepreneurship. It becomes more of a corporate culture, another core capability of a company to become entrepreneurs. What does it mean to have the entrepreneurial spirit? Entrepreneurial employees are able to participate in the rewards of what they create, such as being granted something like ownership rights in the internal enterprises they create. It's all about the reward system. It's all about recognition. Now, you may not always have a ownership right, but you get some type of as an incentive or reward for developing a great idea and having that entrepreneurial innovation within a company. The next pillar is that a firm treats entrepreneurial teams as a profit center rather than a cost center. These teams are expected to make money. Some companies give their entrepreneurial teams their own internal bank accounts. So what they do is they treat these teams that are entrepreneurials, the ones that they want to go out and innovate. We call them the product innovation team or the product development team, just a team that innovates and invents and comes up with new ideas. They give them their own kind of budget to work with, to do research and development, and to invest into products or ideas that are going to create in return profit for the company. They look at this team of people to be ones to drive incremental value to an organization, to drive new streams of revenue and profits. So it's really important for companies to look at them, like we said, beyond a cost center and just overhead, but more of an investment of resources to create opportunity and profit for a company. The next entrepreneurial spirit is that team members can choose the projects on which they work or the alliances they join. So to be a part of this innovation team, this really unique set of individuals and organization, you really have autonomy to pick and choose the projects you want to work on that you really believe are going to be moving forward as new innovative business for your company. And that's a lot of responsibility, though. You want to make sure you have a track record of success and pursuing ideas that really make sense. It's basically being your own entrepreneur, your own business, but you have a lot more oversight, a lot more eyes on you to do the job well because you're within a large organization. The next entrepreneurial spirit is that employees have access to training to help them learn new skills. So you're given the skill sets, you're given the training to develop those skill sets, you're given the resources to really enhance the innovation within your team. So as you're an entrepreneur who's not working for an organization, you have to develop those skill sets on your own. You have to find ways to become trained. You have to go to school or develop, find investors who are willing to train you. When you're within an organization, they have the capital and resources to train you. They're willing to invest in you, not just as individuals, but invest into the training and resources to help you develop the skills necessary to become successful. The next is internal enterprises are recognized within organizations and have official standing. So again, you're an enterprise. You're a part of the company. You're not just another cog to the overall mission. You're an individual entity, but still owned by the larger corporation. The organization defines and supports a system of contractual agreements between the internal enterprises. So there's a contract, right? You are in this kind of siloed group that has to perform, and you're on a contractual basis. You're given so much time to invest in a particular project. You can't go with an idea forever and not see any results. So you're given maybe a year budget to work on a particular idea, and you have to hit milestones, and you have to look at the stakeholders of the company and tell them how you're progressing. And it's really important to understand that between entrepreneurship and what it means to have your own business. And finally, the entrepreneurship plan includes a method of settling disputes that may arise around the internal enterprise and employees. There's conflict resolution. You're given resources to mediate problems, and you're also given resources to help fix those obstacles and challenges that come along the way. So, really, you're a company investing into these entrepreneurs. You have a dedicated team of resources to really develop new ideas and innovation, and you're working with them along the way to train them, but also help them with any obstacles. So that's what it means to have entrepreneurial spirit within an organization today. One thing I want you to walk away with this next slide is the idea that you don't have to own your own business and start a new company or start a new business venture to be an entrepreneur. You really can work for an organization and find yourself in a place that embraces what it means to be an entrepreneur and drive that entrepreneurial spirit. If you're someone that has an entrepreneurial spirit, a lot of organizations now have that in their organization and adopt the entrepreneurship kind of business model. So from Gifford Pinchett's book, Entrepreneur, Why You Don't Have to Leave the Company or Why You Don't Have to Leave the Corporation to Become an Entrepreneur, they list 10 commandments for entrepreneurs. So these are 10 things that will help any individual who wants to stay in their corporation to drive an entrepreneur kind of spirit. Do any job needed to make your project work, regardless of your job description. So a true business leader these days, they say, are ones that will, roll up their sleeves and just get the job done. It doesn't matter what your title is, you'll do what it takes to get the job done. You do your job. You see a project through. You don't always have to rely on someone else to do it. And you want to be business partners. You want to work with your team and not, stepping on anybody's toes when you're doing a project, but you want to do what it takes to get the job done. It's okay to go outside your job description and, do things that, are ethical and within the means of the company to get your job done. To also be an entrepreneur, you have to share the credit wisely. You don't take all the credit for a job. Just like any effective business leadership course, especially in embracing an entrepreneurship environment, it's very agile. You share the credit. It's a team effort. It's not the I, it's a we. It's not me, it's us. Those kinds of mentalities create great business leadership, but also create a great entrepreneur spirit. The third pillar or commandment is, remember, it is easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. So taking risks, calculated risks. You want to get the buy-in of your teammates a lot of the time and not go off in what we call rogue or go off and do things on your own. But you don't always need to ask for permission for every single task along the way. You may want to just say you make your own decisions, especially when you're in a position where you can make decisions. At times you're going to make mistakes and just have to ask for forgiveness, and you learn from those mistakes. As long as that mistake wasn't too costly to the company, at times you're just given that, okay, well, just learn from it and don't do it again. Come to work each day willing to be fired. Now, this is something you might say, well, why would I want to come to work with that? What that means is, though, come to work being that risk taker. Come to work being that thought leader. Don't do things unethically. Don't do things dishonesty, but come to work thinking, I'm going to push the boundaries a little bit. That you want to find ways to do business in a new way. That's what it means to have that entrepreneur spirit. Ask for advice before asking for resources. So this one's very important. You don't always want to ask for more money for a project. You don't always want to ask for more technology or human resources to develop a project. The first thing you want to do to any boss or any environment where you're asking for investment is to say, here's my problem. What do you think we should do about it? That puts it back on that person, that investor, that boss to think with you to find a solution versus just you asking them for resources or money that makes them feel like they're a part of the project. It may put some onus on them and accountability to help you develop a solution. And really, at the end of the day, it fosters that entrepreneur spirit that everybody has a participation in this project or business venture. The next commandment is follow your intuition about people. Build a team of the best. You may look at resumes, you may find people to work with on a certain project, but really at the end of the day, use your intuition, use your instinct about, if you're a people person, know those people, know who you think is really going to help you succeed. Build a team of the best people that you think that have the right technical skill sets, the right skill sets for the job, but also who are just going to be teammates and work with you and be leaders to see this through. Build a quiet coalition for your idea. Early publicity triggers the corporate immune system. What this means is when you have an idea, a new kind of innovative idea in this entrepreneurial or entrepreneurship environment, don't tell the whole organization your idea. Start with a small coalition, usually your small core team that you work with or the people that you trust, to kind of vet it out, see it through. There's going to be always ideas, but only the few ideas that get triggered to work on actually get worked on. Ideas happen all the time. But in business, there are the very few ideas that really get, kind of bought in with the organization and really are pursued. So you need to be careful not just to be someone who always, speaks ideas and never has results. You want to have someone who has credibility and, just having a core team of people that you trust that, will take your idea, not just run with it on their own, but also trust that you can pause and then vet out the idea is really important. The next commandment based on this book is never bet on a race unless you're running in it. So what this means is don't put your eggs in one basket on a project if you're not a part of it. Also don't criticize a project if you're not a part of it either. You may think it's a good idea or a bad idea, but if you're not in it and you're not someone who's a part of it, then don't, really, talk negatively about it unless you're actually a part of it. The ninth commandment is be true to your goals, but realistic about ways to achieve them. So what this means is that you may have your goals, your personal ideas, like we talked about before, but be realistic, though, about how you're going to achieve it. Not every goal is as easy as others. And there are times where goals need to pivot, or goals aren't always going to come to fruition. And that's just part of life. That's part of business, though. So you need to understand that you have to find ways that are realistic to achieve your goals. If not, you're going to find yourself driving yourself crazy and not always finding opportunities to win and be successful. Lastly, honor your sponsors. What this means is praise those who praise you. Keep those people who kind of have oversight of your career, your mentors, and to provide you guidance, but the people who sponsor your projects, your investors, and make sure you honor them, as in respect them. It's basically respect your leadership. They're the ones who are going to give you the confidence and the resources to give you what you need. So make sure you're treating them with respect, and that goes a long way. So again, those are from this book, Entrepreneur, Why You Don't Have to Leave the Corporation to Become an Entrepreneur. Our 10 commandments will make you a successful entrepreneur within your own company. These skill sets are very important, though, as a business leader in general, in my opinion. So to sum up some of the key factors of what entrepreneurship means based on what we covered tonight, and also the topic of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is the form of entrepreneurship practiced within an existing organization. So the one thing you want to understand between the difference between the two is that they are both having that entrepreneurship mindset to develop new innovative ideas, to find ways of, conducting new business ventures. But the entrepreneurship is that it's someone on their own, a small business or kind of a new entity, if you will. Or entrepreneurship is having that entrepreneurship culture, entrepreneurship spirit, but living within the context of a large organization. The entrepreneur is typically the inter-organizational revolutionary, challenging the status quo and fighting to change the system from within. The entrepreneur is the challenge from outside the firm. So entrepreneurship are the people trying inside a corporation, a large firm, trying to push the boundaries, trying to find new ways of doing business, to really, find ways to develop and innovate versus doing the status quo. Where an entrepreneurship is someone who's outside an organization, really is challenging that firm or the competitive environment in general. And the last key factor is an organization can develop a culture of entrepreneurialism such that it can operate nimbly in entrepreneurial fashion as the environment changes, or that it can act as an industry disruptor. There are two approaches to entrepreneurship: the coexistence approach and the structural separation approach. Let's cover that in a little more detail. The coexistence approach is that you are one who's trying to coexist within your current market, your current industry. You're finding ways to, if your competition is ahead of you, you're trying to keep up with your competition. You're basically trying to remold yourself, reinvent your business model to be a part of that market, to keep up with the demand of the market. The other was the structural separation approach, where you're trying to go outside the norm. You're doing an internal transformation. You're not just kind of enhancing what you already do and becoming new and innovative. You're really trying to restructure yourself. You're trying to redevelop yourself into something almost completely new from the status quo. And that's what it means to have that kind of driven entrepreneurship mindset. Overall, I hope you enjoyed the lecture tonight. Hope you walk away with some great insights on what it means to have entrepreneurship in a global and business environment and the difference between entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship. We'll talk to you soon. I hope you have a great week ahead and take care.